WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I want to thank you for being with us today. We're coming to you from Star Communications TV, Channel 16, simulcast on WCLN Radio. Each and every week, we bring a new show, new commentary about some things you might know a bit about. Maybe we dig a little bit deeper and help you better understand it. One of those things is very important to us here is Cooperative Extension Office. And one of the newest people on the block is Amanda Knight. And Amanda, you are the 4-H Extension Agent. Would that make you like a special agent?
I'm always special.
You're always a special
yes.
agent? And in charge?
Absolutely.
Absolutely in charge.
Yes.
So let's talk about 4-H. I'm always fascinated with 4-H because as you and I have talked just a bit about this off camera, it just seems to me that with some violence in schools, with a lot of turbulence in young folks and so forth, if there's one program that literally started back in 1902,
yes, sir.
and I want you to talk about that a bit. I want us to get into that and how important it is for the structure and help the development of young folks in our community. But before we get there, I want to start with this question. Tell me how a teacher that came to us from Wayne County ends up as the extension agent in charge in Sampson County. Talk about your journey a bit.
Whenever I went back to school, I was in my mid-30s. I already had a 2-year degree, so I went back to North Carolina A&T. They have what they call a 2x2 program. So the last 2 years of my bachelor's degree was online. At the time, I was living in Catawba County. I was helping farm in Catawba County. And I went back and started taking hours online. I would take 18, 20 hours online, and I'd sit and help farm, feed cattle, look after kids, and then I would go help the local high school, Bandy's High School. I had 2 really good mentors, and I wanted to go back, and my first idea was I wanted to be the gap between the consumer and the farmer in extension. Then I started working with Bandy's teachers. There was a Miss Shannon Van Hoy and Miss Laura Parker, and they were wonderful. And they brought me under their wing and started to form me into an ag teacher. And I loved the role, and I loved the kids. Like I just got to where I would feed off the energy of the kids, and it just made everything kind of come out in me. So I continued my journey on into Wilson County with the School for the Deaf. And I got a phone call one day and gave me an option of an availability down as 4-H agent. And their first question was, have you ever worked with 4-H before? Yes, sir. I've been a 4-H leader in Catawba County for several years and had a chance to work with the youth there. So the conversation went on about how I would be interested in becoming 4-H agent as opposed to being in the classroom. And I had to think about it for a little bit because I just took a step from a classroom that had 30 plus kids in it to the ability to go from one classroom, 3 periods a day, 30 kids, to how many ever high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, pre-Ks were in a county. So it was, can I give to one high school, or can I change roles and have the ability to go into many places and provide developmental curriculum to a whole school system, or homeschool kids, or small community, maybe a small church group. It was a great transition for me. It was the ability to go just, from one school to a whole school system. So I got a chance to provide information about, my favorite is agriculture. I've always been, I grew up in a tobacco field at 10 years old. And then it started from the tobacco field in Wayne County at 10 years old to working cattle. And then it evolved. I was a 4-H presentation speaker whenever I was in high school. I was very active in the FFA all of my years through high school. Went into livestock management. So it just kind of trickled down from there. And so I really liked agriculture. That's why I was an ag teacher. And so now I get a chance to bring the agriculture education to kids in many different places. But I don't only just do agriculture now. I get to do STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. I get to teach about livestock. I get to teach about agriculture in general. Horticulture. That is something that I did not have a whole lot of hands-on through my entire life. And then whenever I came to agriculture education, I was gifted 2 greenhouses, and it was trial by fire. And so I developed a big love for horticulture in general. And so since I have been here since August, we started with putting in raised bed gardens. So just a little bit of a taste of what I was going to get to do. Got me excited about all of it. So here I am.
It's a fascinating story, man. I think one of the interesting things is just listening to you is that you've got the ability now that you can be exposed to so many different things, and plus it's community-led and involvement versus the structural classroom itself. Has that been somewhat of an awakening for you? Do you feel, should I say, unbridled? Maybe that's not the word, but that you can do some of these other things and engage different things? You mentioned STEM and some of the technology programs that's out there. I mean, that's fascinating.
It is. It's nice to be able to broaden from just an agriculture curriculum to so many curriculums. I went and sat down at one of the schools with some teachers one day, and they started flipping through their new curriculum and was amazed at, they absolutely had to go verbatim what was out of that book. And this was an elementary school. And I was kind of taken by the fact that this is the structure they have. I don't have the structure anymore. So if, I get a group of kids that want to learn about butterflies, okay, let me go pull my pack. Let me get some things together, and we're going to start learning about butterflies. And we're going to put on a whole classroom, little workshop about butterflies or insects, or say that they want to do painting, photography. What I'm looking forward to this summer, this will be my first summer of summer workshops. And it's like every workshop is something different. We're going to go from cooking to farming to photography to fishing. So it's a chance to go from just a little to a whole lot, and we'll add some STEM in there. I have a background in natural resources, and so a little bit of a treasure hunt through the woods, bring in some of that fishing. Things like that.
It's interesting to me, and again, I'm listening to you talk, but this whole extension program that you're now in charge of, and I want to kind of talk a bit about the history. We might have to go over into the next segment, but I want to talk a bit about the history, because when I look back at it, and we mentioned this off camera earlier, but it's like back in the early 1900s. And we started out with something that was referred to as the Tomato Club or the Corn Growing Club. Tell us a little bit about the history of 4-H, and I want to not only segue into the next segment with that, but I want you to talk to us about this whole cloverleaf thing and those 4 quote H's and how that's integrated into the program. But let's talk a bit about the history of it. That's probably one of the oldest clubs in the country, I guess.
You actually didn't date it correctly. If you'll read it, the Tomato Club was something that was back in the 1890s.
Yeah, it was referred to as youth clubs at that time.
Youth clubs, yes. And I just read the man's name this morning, and it's hard to pronounce. But he was the one that actually went through and created the clover with the 4-H's in it. And then as you read on into 1908 is whenever they actually put a patent on that clover. Then if you trickle down to 1914, whenever you bring that Smith-Lever Act in, that is, you see the history of it start in the 1890s, but it's not, doesn't have a name yet.
That's right. It's kind of the embryo.
The embryo of it, yes. And, it was just a club where they just gathered the youth to provide them a way to learn agriculture. It was really agriculture based in the beginning. And then as it evolved, they started bringing more parts into it later on in the 1900s. If you cruise on down to 1940s. But yeah, it actually started out as a tomato club. And I think it was in 1914 that the Smith-Lever Act happened. Whenever they actually put the organization part together. Yeah,
the 1924 period. I think that the interesting thing for me is when you see this coming together, and it was clearly out of a need. There was something in the community, and that relationship to the farm, to the people that maybe had no knowledge or understanding of the farm. When we come back from this break, I want to kind of touch on that a little bit, and then we're going to go into that world we're in now with something to work from. We'll have kind of a base to work from. So I think it's important for folks to understand that not only is this one of the oldest clubs, but it's one of the most populated organizations when it comes to youth. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Amanda Knight, the 4-H person, specialist, agent in charge at Corporate Extension. We'll be back in a moment.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Most aging adults want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And as your loved ones get older, you want to support them, even when you can't be there. Star is proud to offer Star Alert. This new system is now mobile and has GPS compatibility, so your loved ones can live their lives and you can have peace of mind, knowing they can get the help they need with just the simple push of a button. The new Star Alert also offers automatic fall detection, so help will be alerted even if they can't press the button. Call and ask about Star Alert today.
Welcome back. We Should Know's on there. We're talking 4-H, not 2H, 3H, or 5H, but 4H. And we're talking with Amanda Knight that knows something about that clover leaf, and it's got 4 H's on it, Amanda. As the new agent, I like to call you agent in charge of 4-H. Am I giving you a new title? I think so.
Yes, it's a great title.
But
Can you get it on a badge?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, yeah.
So I think the 4 H's themselves deserve some sense of explanation. We've talked a little bit about the history, but talk to us about the meaning of those 4 H's on each one of those clover leaves.
Okay, well, you kind of have to go from top to bottom. You ready?
I'm ready.
You have your head.
There you go.
Greater thinking. Hands. Service. Health. Heart. So it kind of just brings all of you together. Instead of just saying, I'm going to help the community. Well, you start thinking about how are you going to, what is your ideas? We're pushing kids to think outside of the box that we've created or that society has created. So let's think about what we can do to improve. Let's use our hands to do it. We want to turn around and think about, doing it in our community, providing for our community. And then health. Now, to me, whenever you talk about health, you have to talk about that, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are we getting too specific on this one?
Yes, go right ahead.
So whenever you talk about that hierarchy of needs, and this is also something with teaching that I always kept in the back of my head, the most essential things that you need are always at the bottom. And whenever you fulfill those, you can move up. So if we reach out and we find kids that need some more self-confidence, we can bring them into a club and help build that confidence. The more confidence they have in their self or their surroundings, you'll see them start to blossom. And that's whenever they come up that hierarchy of needs. And that's kind of where your clubs kind of, they build off of one interest, but in reality, there's more interest there. So let's take a book club, okay? A book club at a library. You have homeschool kids that come in and they're looking at books. Well, you have a club leader that is doing one particular book that week. Well, say it's somebody that doesn't read well, but they can get with their club leader or they can read in a group, talk about what's going on in that book. The kid becomes more confident in what they're doing, especially as far as reading. And then you talk about the comprehension. They just discussed the book. As that need is fulfilled, they go up to the next level of needs.
One of the things, and it's interesting you refer to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need, is that idea of survivability. And I'm picking up on that a lot in society today, is with children. There is a sense of survivability, and it's like they're looking for something to connect to. You said something earlier in your early years growing up on the tobacco farm. I raised my hand as part of that as well. And we had something, although it was the tobacco field, but we had that solid core family. They were right there. They kept us on track. There's something about that seems to be very fragile today. So I think you're right on point when you talk about that need to have something to connect with. And it is, I do sense that when I see and read a lot of stuff, that there is this sense of literally the physicality of survival. And that's kind of sad.
It's sad. And I think that, I hate to say the word, but COVID, COVID really took our kids that were in a decent position. They had a schedule during the day, and then they took them and they broke them all apart. When they were at school, they were having their time to socialize. They had their responsibilities. It had been a current schedule since they were in preschool. It evolved over the years, and then all of a sudden we said, and then our kids had to rely on themselves for everything. And a large part of kids is social. Whether it's their friends surrounding them or just a group in general. It doesn't even have to be in their own age group. I mean, my daughter herself, she always interacted with high school students, but she found her spot in that group and would talk and carry on with high school students. But it doesn't matter, basketball team, softball team, whatever organization they were in, just all of a sudden went apart. So kids went into solitude. They would still try to communicate through internet, but I feel like they lost a lot of their social ability, I guess you would say, and that took away self-confidence. And then having that teacher there. A lot of people say, "Oh, you teach, and it's a hard job." The physical part of teaching, it's tough. But whenever you talk about the mental part of teaching, it's where it gets tougher, because you bond with all of the kids, but you have to set structure. And that structure, they would say, "Oh, they lost the responsibility of having to do their work. Some kids didn't carry on the responsibility of the structure that they had they had built in school, but then all of a sudden you took them away from that teacher. Kids, every kid will tell you what their favorite teacher was, and their not favorite teacher, and they always have a reason why. I was fortunate enough to become one of the teachers that a kids felt some self-confidence with. I would talk to them like they were high school students. I made sure that they understood what level I was on whenever I spoke to them and how they spoke to me. So it's almost like you took them away from basically all the structures that they had, and you tried to turn around and plug it in with the internet or FaceTime or whatever platform that we used. So all of a sudden, our lives have evolved since COVID has changed. We're out of masks now, and our kids are back in school, and they're so excited that all they want to do is socialize. They haven't built back their responsibilities. They haven't built back their social skills yet. I think that's where they kind of have gone above and beyond just trying to get the attention that they had at one time, building their confidence back up. So I feel like where we fit into this and the clubs fit into this is providing them a group time. They have they have the ability to socialize with people that have some kind of a common interest. They have the ability to have some structure, and they have curriculum involved and hands-on activity. Hands-on activity is the other portion of teaching. In my career of teaching, I learned several things. Number one, kids really love to work with their hands. You can take the most solitude student that loves a book outside, and they enjoy being out there. Warm, sunny day. So working with their hands, and also, hold on, I just lost on that one. Sorry. But having structure, having sociability, and working towards a goal. So,
you mentioned COVID. Are we in part of this cycle still of COVID, that there's somewhat of a need to re-socialize our children to connect with and bond and work with each other?
We're still in the connecting periods. We've got them back together. They're socializing. They went back together and socialized a whole lot. They got back involved with each other, and now they got to get back to the structure.
And that structure is part of what 4-H looks at with the programs that you're in charge of, that's available to kids now. And the piece of it is understanding structure. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Whenever you pull the structure away from kids, they tend to go off on tangents.
I read an article some years ago, and it always comes to my mind when I'm having this conversation with anybody. It said that a child may not recognize it, but they look forward to and feel comforted in structure and control. They need to know boundaries is yes. Basically what it was built on. And something you just said struck me with that. Are we missing that today? Is that those boundaries and structure?
I think we're coming back to boundaries and structure. Whenever we brought kids back into school, they went from having a hard time with no socialization to all of a sudden we have lots of socialization, but now we're building back the structure so they can get back on schedule, they can have their organization, they can have their structure. Now, as far as while we're talking about structure, there's just more than this curriculum that we've been talking about. There's also a structure in the 4-H that a lot of people don't see unless you're in it. So we have public speaking, we have parliamentary procedures, we have more formal type banquets, meetings, things of that nature There is district officer teams and things like that. So, you know, we have structures in school. We have a structure here.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Amanda Dye about 4-H and about the importance of 4-H to you and your children. We'll be back in a moment.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of light.
Bill?
What bill?
The Star Communications bill.
No worries, honey. With Star's paperless billing and automatic draft system, I get a notification sent right to my phone. There's no need to be bothered with those paper statements, and our bill is paid on time every month.
Well, that's easy and convenient.
It sure is, honey.
Honey,
Yes, dear.
the bake.
Oh, right.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us today. We're talking about a very important subject, and I really don't know anything much more important than we're talking about children. We're talking with Amanda Knight with 4-H. Amanda, children, I guess, is not only our future, they carry part of our past, but their expectation of what we are as a culture and a society. 4-H shows up in the picture, and we start taking a deep dive into 4-H, and we see here's all the ingredients we need. Here's some of the things that are not only relevant today, but may be anticipated tomorrow. And you're in charge of a lot of those programs. So I want to kind of move to continuing the conversation. And it's not that we're selling anybody anything. We're just saying, here's something that's available to you. But something's got to happen. Somebody's got to reach out. Somebody's got to say, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. Help us kind of work through that process. And also, I want you to talk a bit about if there are any limitations. And you can talk about anything. 4-H does anything from butterflies to honeybees, or from honeybees to beef cattle. It's pretty much unlimited, is it not?
Yes,
you like that analogy?
Yeah. Well, you hadn't quite got out of the insects and the agriculture
yet.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. I was kind of dealing with that.
So we have curriculum there. And yes, we do I think we even have stuff in the woodworking all the way to electronics. I had the first 2 or 3 days in my office, I pulled out the bottom drawer of this really long cabinet, and it was nothing but program books. And I'm looking at it going, whew.
Yeah.
Are we going to do all of these?
Yeah.
One at a time? So there is quite a lot to 4-H, the pieces and parts, but that's just one piece of it. That is just the curriculum portion. People don't realize the things that our kids can do and have done, mm-hmm. All the way up to our state 4-H organizations. I have one. I keep wanting to call them students, mm-hmm. because I'm so used to that as a teacher. But I have one teenager that is applying to be a district officer. I mean, a state officer. I'm sorry, she's already a district officer, mm-hmm. but she's applying to be a state officer. And very few of them have come out of our county. So to me, it's an honor to know that I have one kid stepping out and mm-hmm. saying, hey, I want to go, above the district, above the county, above the district. I want to be a state officer. Mm-hmm. The structure as far as 4-H goes is just not curriculum. Mm-hmm. Curriculum and clubs is kind of like the bottom cake layer. I say cake because it's, good. It's covered in something mm-hmm. sweet, like icing. Mm-hmm. But as we move up that, I guess, tier, we have like a district activity night where we're going to see our kids come in and do presentations. We'll have awards banquets where many people in the county that help support our 4-H come in and see what they've done. But let's look behind that. These kids go from a club to a district public speaking event, parliamentary procedure event, community service ideas that they've put together. And then from there, they take it on up from the district to the state, and they want to participate in the more political side and become more active in the leadership portion of 4-H.
I think that the thing that strikes me is, and to remind folks, we're talking about an organization that's the largest youth development organization in the country, and that's 4-H. And the thing that strikes me with that, Amanda, is that those words are true, and the literature and the analytics show that, but we don't hear that much about it. Why don't we hear more on media and so forth? It's like, I guess my question to you would be, what's the biggest challenge to get the message out about 4-H? I mean, you would think that with all the benefit factors of 4-H, you would see more of it on social media, you would see it more on TV programs, you would see news media covering it. What seems to be the inhibiting part that you've experienced thus far?
Well, if you're not seeing it on Facebook, then maybe you're not friends with the right people. I'm just saying, Now, when you get on Facebook, your Facebook, I need you to friend a couple of different pages so that way you can see what our 4-H is doing here in the county. We've kind of stepped away. No, I don't want to say stepped away because we've been going. But let's think about this, okay? Mm-hmm. Our teenage kids, they're on social media, TikTok, Twitter.
And are 8, 9 years old are too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple more out there. And it all involves taking a picture, putting 2 sentences on it, and sending it to the people that you want to see it.
And who gets the most hits?
Right. So I think what I have not dove into yet is small TikTok videos or the small Facebook reels. I mean, as you can see, this is the first time I've ever been on television.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to put that.
I put my lipstick on.
That'll be in your rearview mirror shortly. Okay.
Okay. Yes, I'll mark it down.
Yeah.
Check. But I think that we have to hit what is hot at the minute, at that moment. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm not sure where we stand on TikTok because it was such a big thing in the past year. But I think that what we need to do to really sell it into kids right now is our kids making the TikTok videos on what we're doing. The leaders, the agent doing TikTok videos or putting small reels on Facebook or making sure that your face goes to where the kids are. Kids enjoy kids. So you have to get in with the kids and you have to put your face where the kids are looking.
Relationship building.
Relationship building.
It's interesting because there are folks that are listening today or watching, and I'm sure they probably say, well, I've been familiar with 4-H for years, or my child, or I grew up as involved in 4-H.
Oh, yeah.
But there's still a huge market of folks that are there and they're going, I don't know whether I want to get in that or not. I just left school. But 4-H also has an after school effort that's being pushed nationally that I'm understanding is tremendous because parents are working, they're out from the home. What do? You take them to a babysitter and they give them a crayon to sit in the corner? But the reality is 4-H is teaching something.
We're always teaching something. even if you're not in that particular curriculum, whenever you're around kids, yes, you always are teaching something. The best part about it is they provide you a structure for a curriculum. Now, you just talked about after-school programs. So, I got here in August. I've been here a total of 6 months now.
Wow, you should know everything. You wish, right?
Yeah. And since I got here, it has been feet on the ground running the entire time. We have started putting the raised bed gardens in schools. Teachers have such a structure that you have to get in the school. You have to build a relationship with the teachers. You have to get in there and find out what they're doing because it's so structured for them, and then figure out a way to almost relate what you want to do with the kids and them. That way you can reiterate what they're doing and then provide something to help the kids understand. Now, as far as the after-school program goes, I'm trying to slide into that. What I mean by that is I've just now gotten into schools in the past 6 months. We are working on a couple clubs that have been high demand. And in that same process, I have made several relationships with some principals and some of teachers. And that's the starting point, is you have to build the relationships, make sure that they are confident, and whenever you go into that school that you're going to be on point with those kids and how you're going to teach them and what you're going to teach them. So it's building relationships and then building programs. I'm not saying that we are not going to have an after-school program. What I'm saying is I want to make sure that the right relationships are built so we can structure it correctly between 4-H and the school system itself, or the particular school itself, so we can kind of accommodate the school.
Is there, like for example, after-school programs, is there cost involved in that? If somebody calls you and says, you know, Amanda, I'm in a certain school in the county, is there a certain amount of expectation that they should be thinking about that's going to be cost variables? I think that is going to be something that I want to talk about in this last segment coming up, and also talk about some of those programs in the developmental stage. As you just pointed out, a lot of it is not something you can just say, okay, I just got a call, we need to do something in STEM at Hopton Elementary, so boom, STEM starts tomorrow. It don't work that way. You got to develop it. So I want to kind of get in and walk people through the process in the last segment. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Amanda Knight, and she is the Cooperative Extension Agent for 4-H. 592-7161 is her number. We'll be back in a moment.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home, and we strive to provide the best communications services. Star is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. Star Communications, we are neighbors serving neighbors.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We Should Know's on there. J.W. Simmons here, your host. Been glad to be with you today. We've been talking about 4-H. Before we go back to that discussion, I want to kind of remind you of your connect capability for us. Emails are weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. I thank you for your comments, suggestions, things that we've had on that you want us to bring back, maybe contact information, just email us there. We're more than happy to communicate with you that. If you want to send us a mail, drop a card to us, we do get those right on occasionally. I think we refer to those as snail mail. It's Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina. If you happen to be from this area, it's Clinton, but it's Clinton, North Carolina 28329. That's the Post Office Box. We look forward to hearing from you. And of course, one of the best ways, if you happen to see me out somewhere, you just kind of tag me and say, hey, how about so-and-so or whatever. I love to talk to you and find out more about what's going on in the community. So let's get back to 4-H. And there's so much to cover. Man, we've gone through a lot of stuff in the short period of time I have you on the show. I want to kind of get back to this process of thought. We've put information out there. You have given us a broad range of ideas and possibilities, everything from science, technology, engineering, and math, to cattle, to poultry, whatever raising tomatoes, whatever it may be. That's there, and those programs can be brought, and help me here, to the community, to the school, to a church. A
meeting place.
Let's walk through that and what folks need to do if they're hearing this today and thinking, I'd like to see my children at whatever steeple that they may be at in this county have access to this. What's their first step?
Well, the number one thing that I need is volunteer leaders. That is number one, because I can't get the clubs going and bring children and have it, working.
Without structure.
Yeah, I can't have it without that structure. I need leaders. I need volunteers, co-leaders. I need ideas. If you have an area, a community of kids that care about one thing or a handful of things, maybe they are outdoors type kids, call me. That is one of those areas that I can help build, get you pointed in the right direction to get online, 4-H Online 2.0. Go ahead and start your leadership process, because you have to have a background check. That protects me, it protects you, and it protects our kids. The next thing you'll do is get club paperwork together. We can put it out in the community and help bring those kids to the first meeting.
It's fascinating, and there's so many possibilities out there, and something we haven't touched on that it seems to be, you see it on the news media every day, and that's things dealing with guns. But yet 4-H offers a safety program and related to the hunting environment that all of us rural folks are used to. They offer a safety program about how do you deal with guns, understanding guns, the safety issue with guns. I would think that would be a high dynamic training program that folks would want to see in their communities.
Did you see my smile when you said that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so since I have been here, one of the largest demands in Sampson County, because it's in Duplin County, it's in Wayne County, is 4-H shooting sports. It is actually, there's a national 4-H shooting sports. Why do we choose or want to have shooting sports? Well, we are a very rural county. Mm-hmm. A lot of our kids are raised in a hunting environment. Mm-hmm. But we need to teach them safety. Mm-hmm. We need to teach them what to do, what not to do. We need to teach them about their environment, wildlife management, wildlife conservation. So those are all things that can go into a program. Now, there's shooting sports, and then there is the wildlife portion of it. Mm-hmm. Shooting sports is actually kind of one on its own. There's multiple different disciplines, anything from shotgun into archery, pistols, muzzle loaders. Mm-hmm. So there's an opportunity for any kid that would like to explore that option, especially our hunting kids coming up, or if you just have a son, daughter that takes an interest in those things. Let's get back to the instructors though. I can't just have a leader. If you come to me and say, I would like to be a shooting sports leader, I'm going to ask you, what exactly in shooting sports would you like to do? So if you would like to be a coach with a kid that has some type of firearm, you have to go to a 4-H training that's going to be all about how you are going to work with that kid and that firearm directly. You will be tested. There will be demonstrations. There will be a skills test, and then there is a written test for you.
For the person that's going to be the facilitator?
Yes, for the facilitator.
Right.
And I didn't know much about how that went. I didn't know how to tell people about it. And so the past instructors training, I went myself just to say, hey, yes, in the process of starting this, and I need one trainer. I guess I can go. If I can't get somebody readily, I'll go. And I did. And I learned a lot that day. First of all, I learned as an agent, how I need to talk to people that want to be part of this, what they can expect from one of these trainings. And then as they go back to the club that they're starting or a club that's established that they want to work with, how it should run, how they should teach. So I initially took that step just so I could have a knowledge there, and in the starting process, I could be a part of that starting process before I handed it over to the volunteer leader that's going to step up to take it. I've actually had people that have started coming to me saying, hey, I have kids that love to do this. We do it on Sundays. Can we start getting this club together? Absolutely. Here's what we have to do.
Most of us older children that grew up in a rural environment grew up with not only understanding guns but safety of guns, and we grew up hunting beside of our fathers and those kinds of things. We don't have that now, so it seems to me that what you're talking about not only could be critically important but vital, because you'll be covering things like gun safety, which is a huge part of that. I understand that curriculum.
One word: responsibility. Whenever you're handling firearms, whenever you're on a team setting, you have a responsibility to yourself and to the person next to you. And I think that is something that, as a child, you talk about going hunting with your father or being beside your father. He built the ideas of the responsibility that you have now whenever you are in those settings. So that, to me, is one of the most important, well, I don't want to say the most important, but it is very important as far as a shooting club goes, because we are building responsibility.
Absolutely. In
that structure. I think that's kind of sometimes what we've missed, is holding our kids accountable for the responsibilities that they have. But I have several people that have came out and said, hey, I'd like to be a part of this. And I have kids, and how can I do this? And I have had my nose to the book, making sure that I can tell people the correct answers to what they're asking. And if they're ready to start, what we can do to start making dates, setting dates, and get them trained. And I welcome all of the possible phone calls for ideas of meetings, shooting sports. If you have a passion for it, I feel like if we don't start training our kids or passing down those passions that we have or hobbies, that we're not going to continue on those traditions.
Absolutely. We're coming up on the close of the show, so I'm going to give you about a minute here just for any wrap-up, something that you maybe want to get out there that we've missed, any kind of commentary you want to make relative to your new position. It's all yours.
Why don't you just put me on the spot?
Just go right ahead.
as a person and as a parent, I feel like this is probably one of the best programs that I can provide to the kids in Sampson County. It allows them the ability to learn a lot of key traits that we had growing up and that they still need now. One thing that I do need more of is I need volunteers. I need people that want to help kids, but want to help them in a structured environment. So that's what I need. Bring me some volunteers. Give me some people on the phone. Ideas. I can make it happen. I can get it together.
If you're serious about it, commit to it.
Right.
And I think that's what I hear a lot in everything from church groups to civic organizations.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to step up, and you stepped up to take the leadership role here. And I want to, as we go to closure today, I want to thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being here. And for the effort of just sitting down and having a conversation with us. I know you got a busy schedule, like a lot of folks come in and talk to us, but this is something that is so critically important. You can't get but 2 pages into looking at what 4-H is without becoming passionate about this is critical to the future of our children. So thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we're going to be putting at the bottom of the screen for TV viewers the contact information, but 910-592-7176 is the contact number for Amanda if you're listening to us on radio. And as always, when we kind of bring this show to a close, we want to encourage you to be part of each and every one of our shows, Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. and it airs at 2:30 on Tuesday. We look forward to seeing you again next week right here, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.